So we are going to read a little bit of this book, The Great Penguin Rescue, Saving the African Penguins by Sandra Markle. We're going to read this first chapter called Alone. We're going to notice as we read how this book is written with the nonfiction text structure of description. It's a description of penguins. It gives us characteristics about them. So, Alone. On a mild June evening, a 3-month-old female African penguin chick wiggles out of her family's nest under a tree. She straightens up tall and moans in short bursts over and over. It's the way a penguin chick says, "I'm hungry, please feed me." Her nesting colony in South Africa is full of activity at this time of year, full of breeding pairs raising chicks. And each evening the adults come ashore after feeding all day in the South Atlantic Ocean. When this little female's parents return from the ocean with food in their bellies, they'll find her and bring up partly digested fish from their stomachs for her to eat. But they're not back yet, so she sits outside the nest and waits. Shadows knit together. Other chicks are nearby, waiting by their nests too. At last, donkey-like brays fill the air as the adult African penguins return from the ocean. Let's take a peek at the captions. This one says, even though this penguin still has her downy chick coat, she's already nearly adult height. And this one says, adult African penguins spend most of their time in the water except when they come ashore to nest and raise chicks or to molt, which is to shed and replace their feathers. So we can organize descriptive nonfiction text in a web. We put our main topic in the middle, and then we put any details or facts we learn around the outside of our web. So our topic in this book is penguins. Let's zoom in on this part that we just read to see if there's a fact that we can write on our web. It says, the adults come ashore after feeding all day in the South Atlantic Ocean. When this little female's parents return from the ocean with food in their bellies, they'll find her and bring up partly digested fish from their stomachs for her to eat. So on our webs we can write, parents feed babies partially digested fish. That means their stomach has started to break it down, but they can bring it up and feed it to their babies. Let's take a look at the next page. With feathered coats still shiny and wet from the surf, the adults waddle ashore on Robben Island off the coast of Cape Town. Parents will feed their chicks and huddle with them in the nest overnight. Then in the morning, the adults will head back to the ocean to catch more fish, another day's meal for themselves and their chicks. The young female chick moans and peeps as adults pass by. A few adults pause and bray at her. None claim her. The female chick waits for her parents until the path from the beach is empty. Then she wiggles back inside her family's nest. Snug inside, she listens to the night sounds and sleeps. Sometimes parents have to travel farther than usual to find enough to eat, and they spend the night on the ocean. But that night and another day passes, and the little female is still waiting for her parents to come back and feed her. Let's take a look at the captions. Check out the bristly inside of the penguin's mouth. Its tongue has tooth-like barbs that help push food down its throat. And this one, look closely and you'll see a few bits of twigs under the chick. Penguin parents collect twigs and grasses to build their nests. So let's zoom in on this part to see if there's a fact we can add to our web. It says parents will feed their chicks and huddle with them in their nest overnight. Then in the morning, the adults will head back to the ocean to catch more fish. So on our web, we could add adults huddle with babies overnight. Let's take a look at the next few pages. African penguin chicks need to eat nearly every day to grow up strong enough to swim and catch fish for themselves. So when a second day and night passes without any food, the female chick is very hungry. By the third evening, when her parents still don't return, she wanders away from the nest, peeping and moaning, begging to be fed. At 3 months old, the female chick is close to fledging, when she'll shed her fluffy down coat and grow feathers. Until she does, though, she can't swim and catch fish for herself. She's on her own and needs help, or she won't survive. And this caption says, when they're not hunting, nesting penguins guard their chicks in the nest. Their scaly feet give off body heat so the birds don't get too warm in the sunshine. So we can take a fact from that part that we just read. We can write, penguin babies really depend on their parents until they're about 3 months old. We're going to look at one last section, and it's going to be your job to collect a fact from this section and add it to our web. This section is called Penguins in Trouble. Unfortunately, that young female isn't unusual. The entire African penguin population is in danger, having reached critically low numbers. In the early 1800s, scientists estimate there were around 4 million African penguins. By 2014, BirdLife South Africa, a conservation organization, estimated that only about 24,000 breeding pairs remained. Experts debate the total number of adult African penguins, but all agree the population is at risk of becoming extinct in the wild. What happened that left these birds with a tiny fraction of their original numbers? Much of the decline has come from humans interfering with the penguins' nesting sites. African penguins come ashore to lay their eggs and raise chicks, and they mainly come ashore at 27 sites along the southwestern part of Africa, in the countries of South Africa and Namibia. We can see those places located on the map here, and then zoomed in right here. Where the penguins raise their young, they form groups called colonies. This may be as few as 50 breeding pairs or as many as thousands. Being part of a colony means an adult can easily find a mate or reconnect with its mate from other years. African penguins may keep the same mate for several years or even for life. This caption up here says many penguins at the Dasson Island colony nest in dugout areas of ground. This caption says, in 2016, experts believe that African penguins were breeding and nesting at about 27 colonies in South Africa and Namibia. The colonies shown here are the largest and are key to the penguins' survival. So what fact can you take from this section to add to our web?